We made a commitment. The democratic nations of the G7 would step up and provide financing for quality, high standard, sustainable infrastructure in developing and middle income countries.
Today, the world needs these investments more than ever. And that is what the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment is all about.
If we want to close the infrastructure gap, we have to find ways to incentivize greater private sector investment, because no amount of public money can single-handedly fix this issue.
Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. Welcome to Veracity. I am your host, Michael Lewis. Now, after Sri Lanka was forced to lease its Hambantota Port to pay off a $1.4 billion debt to China, the G7 nations have now launched a global infrastructure program that will counter the Chinese Communist Party's Belt and Road Initiative, which has heavily focused on trapping countries in billions of dollars worth of debt. In 2013, the CCP's Belt and Road Initiative was launched by its leader, Xi Jinping, to increase the level of trading between Southeast Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America through highly organized infrastructure. However, many countries started raising serious concerns about the CCP for exploiting this initiative to grab the sovereign land of trading countries by providing them massive loans that they are failing to pay. For example, Sri Lanka has now handed over its Hambantota Port to China for 99 years after failing to pay back a $1.4 billion loan it borrowed from the CCP. Although this port will revert back to Sri Lanka in the future, an enormous level of things can change in 99 years. 50 years ago, we never heard of the internet or mobile phones, and it was only in the last 2 decades the world has managed to connect with each other through these means of communications. The most astonishing part is the CCP intentionally hands over massive loans to the countries to ensure they fail to pay them back, thus allowing it to grab foreign lands in a diplomatic manner instead of adopting forceful measures.
Port City Colombo is a Chinese project. It is part of President Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. You see, Beijing is not looking for a partnership in Sri Lanka. It wants an overseas province.
However, Western nations were aware of this exploitative strategy of the CCP, and because of which, in the 2021 G7 summit, introduced the Build Back Better World initiative, which has now been adopted by all G7 nations. Biden had this to say: what happened is that China has this Belt and Road initiative, and we think that there is a much more equitable way to provide for the needs of countries around the world. Furthermore, the G7 leaders, which are the United States, Canada, Germany, Italy, France, Japan, and the European Union, have also planned to raise around $600 billion to fulfill this mission. The White House has pledged to contribute $200 billion by 2027, Europe has pledged to contribute $316 billion by 2027, and Japan has decided to contribute around $65 billion to this mission. By clarifying the type of investment that will be made in this project, Biden had this to say: investments will be made towards 4 critical areas: health and health security, digital connectivity, gender equality and equity, climate, and energy security. Among the first initiatives will include a $2 billion solar farm investment in Angola, a $320 million investment for hospital construction in Ivory Coast, and a $40 million investment to promote regional energy trade in Southeast Asia. Biden also had this to say:
I want to be clear. This isn't aid or charity. It's an investment that will deliver returns for everyone, including the American people and the people of all our nations.
However, after hearing this news, the Chinese foreign minister spokesman, Zhao Lingjian, criticized Biden for putting the developing countries in debt through his initiatives. How ironic.
She pushed the daughter of newly elected Republican Congresswoman Maya Flores at her swearing-in ceremony. Pelosi says she was actually trying to ensure the girl remained in frame.
Flores claims Pelosi tried to shove her young daughter out of the way during her swearing-in ceremony last week.
In a move to take revenge for losing the Democratic-ruled 34th Congressional District to Republican Mayra Flores, the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, openly pushed Flores' daughter to the right with her right forearm in a way that she thought no one would notice. The incident happened when Pelosi attended Flores' swearing ceremony last week. When Flores' daughter left elbow mistakenly touched Pelosi, the House Speaker, instead of adjusting herself to the other side, decided to push the little girl in a disgustingly discreet manner. Flores noticed this unexpected act from Pelosi and tweeted this: "I am so proud of my strong daughter, beautiful daughter, for not allowing this to faze her. She continued to smile and pose for the picture like a queen. No child should be pushed to the side for a photo op, period." While defending Pelosi, you'll be surprised to know how spokesman Drew Hamill tried to handle this situation with this tweet. It's sad to see news outlets that know better misrepresent the Speaker's efforts to ensure Representative Flores' daughters wouldn't be hidden behind her in all of the photos of such an important moment for their family. Well, according to experts, the 34th Congressional District has been ruled by the Democrats since the 19th century. However, after Flores has won the district by 51% through special elections, Pelosi's little shoving act shows how much she is irritated by seeing Flores win the game. I also like to remind everyone that according to the Associated Press report, more than 1 million voters switched to the Republican Party in the last 12 months.
That we're willing to go in there, and like I told one of the officers, I don't need you to protect me. Get away from me. I don't need your protection. If anything, I need you to go in there with me to go protect my kids.
And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, what the is happening? Like, and you could just hear da 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 da. You can hear kids screaming.
After Uvalde's police failed to handle the school crisis that took the lives of innocent children, they are now harassing a Texas mom who managed to reveal the ugly truth behind their acts of carelessness. On the day of the incident, Angeli Rose Gomez, just like every parent, was frightened after hearing about a shooter in the school where her sons were present. As the police were already slow in their action, Gomez tried to enter the school but was briefly handcuffed by the police. When she was released, the courageous woman, instead of stepping back, she found her way inside the school and managed to rescue her 2 children. Gomez was praised by everyone for making such a courageous decision. However, the moment she criticized the police for not fulfilling their duty, she started receiving threats from them. She said, "The other night we were exercising and we had a cop parked at the corner flickering us with his headlights." She further claimed that a police officer also called her and gave her a warning that she might be in violation of her probation from an arrest that was made a decade ago if she kept on criticizing Uvalde police in front of the media. No such violation was being caused by her after she approached a judge to confirm if there was any validity to the warning. Furthermore, because of this threat, she was forced to move her children to someplace safe. She had this to say: "Just so my sons don't feel like they have to watch cops passing by, stopping and parking." While discussing this entire experience with her lawyer, Mark DiCarlo, Gomez argued that she will be filing several lawsuits against the careless acts of the police, as every parent present at the incident also wants to do the same. Mark DiCarlo, who is already representing around 15 parents of the Uvalde community, argued that the fact that Uvalde Police Chief Pete Arredondo wasn't fired immediately based upon whatever it is, hours of video, from testimonies such as from Angeli, is an indication that there is some sort of corruption or wrongdoing.
Breaking news, the Supreme Court has handed down a decision on religious freedom.
That's right. The justices ruled in favor of former high school football coach Joseph Kennedy.
Nobody should have to be fired or worried about their job if they show any signs of faith.
After years of struggle and arguments in the Supreme Court, Joseph Kennedy, a football coach who was denied by a school district to practice his religion, has now finally won his case with a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. Kennedy, a retired U.S. Marine and a former football coach at Bremerton High School in Washington, used to take a knee and pray at the 50-yard line after every game. However, when other students started joining Kennedy as a form of motivation, the school district warned him to practice his prayers several blocks from the football field. And when he refused to do so, the school suspended Kennedy. In the court, the taxpayer-funded school district argued that when Kennedy prayed midfield, he was acting as a government employee at that moment, which means that he was engaging in speech that is covered under government speech. Thus, he is not protected under the First Amendment. However, Justice Neil Gorsuch, who wrote the opinion, and the rest of the majority judges observed that the school district violated the religious freedom protected under the First Amendment when it fired Kennedy. Justice Gorsuch had this to say: "The Constitution and the best of our traditions counsel mutual respect and tolerance, not censorship and suppression for religious and non-religious views alike. Free exercise and free speech clauses of the First Amendment protect an individual engaging in a personal religious observance from government reprisal. The U.S. Constitution neither requires nor allows governments to suppress such religious expressions." Lastly, Kennedy had this to say: "Just hours before what would be my last game as coach, the school district gave me an ultimatum. If I prayed after that night's game, they would suspend me. As a proud, retired U.S. Marine, something inside of me stirred. I would have given my life defending the religious freedom of any American, and yet that very right was denied to me. That just seemed wrong and unjust." Thank you all for spending time with me. Now don't forget, watch this video up here, and then join me tomorrow at the same time, where we'll discuss more truths happening in America. Have a good evening. I'll see you next time.